Coming up, a special edition of Real Orange, Walking the Tightrope.
I went from, living a middle-class life to, being homeless.
There are other people out there like me who perhaps need similar assistance and don't know where to turn.
Medical is one part of it, but also their dental needs, financial needs, and food, housing.
Something bad happened, whether it's personal or physical, that caused them to lose all that. And everybody's just this far away.
A growing number of people in Orange County find themselves walking the financial tightrope, that imaginary line separating comfort zone from crisis mode. This program will provide hope, advice, and direction for those struggling on the path to self-sufficiency. It's coming up on your PBS station, KOCE.
Real Orange on KOCE is made possible by
Hello, I'm Rick Melke, and welcome to this special edition of Real Orange, Walking the Tightrope. You know, Orange County is not as well off as some might think. A recent study indicates nearly 40,000 people here are homeless. 10 times that many are at risk of missing meals or much-needed medical care. Over the next half hour, you'll hear from people struggling to make ends meet, middle-income people who never dreamed of being in such a position. I'll be joined in studio by several people whose job it is to help those needing a social support system. We'll have their contact information for you at the end of the show for those of you needing advice or direction on where to go for a variety of social services. Let's begin the program with Orange County residents Teddy and Sue Parsons. Their story is filled with much more heartbreak than happiness, a story they hope provides motivation for anyone struggling to make ends meet.
I went from, living a middle-class life to, being homeless, which I would have never thought would ever happen to me because, I have a career.
A career as an airplane mechanic, now on hold due to a series of strokes. Parsons' wife, Sue, is also unable to work due to medical reasons. Late last year, with their savings all but gone, the Parsons were forced to live in their car.
Everybody has a misconception, I always did, of what homeless is. You think of a homeless person as somebody that doesn't care. You don't think that that person could have been a fluent professional sometime and something happened to put them there. We've come a long way in the last 6 months.
The Parsons spent 2 months living in their car, then some time in a couple transitional shelters. The Parsons are now staying in a small house, initially provided free of charge by a kind soul.
It was a big vicious circle. I really thought at one point we wouldn't get out of it. And then, I think God put some people in our life and give us an opportunity to do some things.
People like Dr. Patrick Chen, Associate Director of the Share Our Selves medical clinic in Costa Mesa. SOS provides a variety of social services for those in need.
He first came here looking for a doctor to take care of him after he had a stroke. And then when I asked him about his housing situation, he mentioned that he was recently homeless. So I referred him to our case managers next door, and they took care of his housing situation, helped him find a place to live.
Beautiful day.
Yeah, it is.
Parsons met his wife 14 years ago. Each was coming off a divorce. Each has children from a previous marriage, but none of them know the magnitude of their parents' problems. Interestingly, Teddy and Sue didn't marry until they were homeless.
It's for better or worse, and sometimes it's better to go through the worst before you get married than after you get married. But that's what love's about.
My message probably would be, if I could give anybody any advice, is don't take for granted what you have, because it can be taken away very quickly because of a loss of a job, an illness, or something major happens in your life. And the economy is not good, and sometimes you can't plan for these things. They happen, and things happen that you don't expect.
The Parsons' only income right now comes from his disability insurance payments. Teddy Parsons hopes to return to work soon. Sue Parsons just underwent knee replacement surgery and hopes to find work in the near future, and we certainly wish both of them well. All right, I'd like to introduce now, joining me here in the studio, the Executive Director of Share Our Selves, Karen McGlynn, and the Interim Executive Director of 211 Orange County, Victoria Stephen. Ladies, thank you very much for being here.
Thank you.
Let's begin with you, since you come from Share Ourselves and we heard what the Parsons have gone through. Tell us a little more about Share Ourselves and the different services it provides.
Okay. You know, I get asked that question all the time, and then I start going through a litany of services we provide, and people sort of say, okay, you do food, you do shelter, you do clothing, you do legal law clinics and medical and dental care and counseling and comprehensive case management, but I don't think that registers with them. And what I found now when people ask me that question, I said, what happened at Katrina? And when Katrina happened, it rained on everybody, not just the poor. And what fell apart in Katrina? It's the safety net services, those things that we provide that make sure your community is well taken care of. So we provide safety net services that make sure all of us are able to live in a community that's valuable and will care for us if we need to.
And have done so for many decades in the Costa Mesa area. And Victoria, I know you're also, 211 is also based in Costa Mesa. It used to be called, I believe, InfoLink, correct?
It was InfoLink. Actually, the agency's 38 years old, but only in the last 2 years have we switched over, and I have the license for the 211 call center in the County of Orange.
And Victoria, it would not be uncommon for somebody to call 211 asking for assistance, perhaps in the Costa Mesa area, and have your operators refer them to Share Ourselves or places like that.
Exactly what we do.
Okay, let's roll some video, if we can, of Share Ourselves.
Right.
I've been over there a couple of times to see your facility, and perhaps the shining star, and there are many of them over at Share Ourselves, is the dental and medical clinic, oftentimes offered free of charge to people, right?
It is a free medical and a free dental clinic, so all services are free, including their pharmacy. It's also unique in that many of the providers that you see serving people are volunteers. So we have volunteer dentists, we have volunteer providers who come in and give the services. They, you know, they have such a caring attitude for the people, and I think you mentioned that you came in there and you see such comprehensive services in so rapid a format that we may not see in our own private offices, and that's the dignity and respect that comes from it.
How is SOS able to offer much of this medical care free of charge?
Well, first of all, it's certainly donors, and the comprehensive nature of receiving help from donors and from grants and funders and United Way and all the funds that come into us. But it's also the unique opportunity that we have to partner with a major hospital in Orange County, Hoag Hospital.
Right.
It's the membership in 17 other coalition of community clinics so that we can connect services and have a seamless flow. How can we remain free? Because I think there's a huge amount of people in this county committed to making sure that services happen for those people who have no other resources.
Victoria.